Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we'll be going over the MCP and the SDK docs as we continue our discovery and learning of Claude Agents SDK. So I'm going to pull up our documentation here. I also have the agent evals in 11 labs. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk to it and we're going to build a real life example of an MCP and use it, but I'm going to use the agent to work with us here. So here we go.
Hi, I can help you understand the MCP and the Claude Agents SDK. What have you heard about it so far?
So what I am looking to do today is I'm trying to create a real life example of the SDK. I have Claude Code opened up in Cursor and we're going to start coding out a project. We're going to build an MCP server. We're going to use the documentation and then we're going to get started.
That sounds like a fantastic project. Building a real-life example is a great way to learn. Before we dive into the specifics of setting up an MCP server, could you tell me a little about your experience with things like APIs, SDKs, or even how AI agents use tools to perform actions? It'll help me tailor our conversation.
Yes, I'm relatively familiar.
Great, that's helpful to know. So let's start with the basics of what MCP or Model Context Protocol is all about. Essentially, MCP servers are like special plugins that give Claude Code new superpowers. They allow Claude to do things beyond just chatting, like reading files, querying databases, or interacting with external services and APIs. Think of it as extending Claude's capabilities with custom tools that you define. Does that initial idea of MCP as a way to extend Claude's abilities make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Excellent. So to make these superpowers available to Claude, there are three main ways, or transport types, that MCP servers can operate. First, we have STTDIO servers. These are external programs that communicate with Claude Code using standard input and output, like a command. They're great for local tools or scripts you want Claude to run. Second, there are HTTP SSE servers. These are remote servers that Claude can access over a network, similar to how web browsers talk to websites. This type is perfect for integrating with cloud APIs or other online services. And finally, we have SDK MCP servers. These are tools that you build and run directly within your application, using the Claude Agents SDK itself. This gives you a lot of flexibility for custom functionality. Do these three types of connections for MCP servers make sense?
Yep, those make sense, and I do want to build all three of those as a simple demonstration.
That's an ambitious and excellent goal. Building all three will give you a really solid understanding. Let's start with the STTDIO server, as it's often the most straightforward to get up and running for a basic demonstration. For a STTDIO server, you'll essentially be telling Claude Code to run an external program, and that program will communicate back and forth using its standard input and output. To set this up, you'll need to create a mcp.json file in your project's root directory. This file is where you configure your MCP servers. Would you prefer to see an example in Python or TypeScript for the configuration?
TypeScript.
Okay, great choice. For TypeScript, your .mcp.json file for a SDO server would look something like this. JSON MCP servers, my local tool, command, node, args, my MCP server.js, MV, debug mode, true. In this example, my local tool is the name you're giving your server. The command specifies the executable to run, which is node in this case, and args are the arguments passed to that command, pointing to your JavaScript file. The env section allows you to pass environment variables to your server process. Does this configuration structure make sense for how you define a STTDIO server?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm actually in Claude Code right now, and I'm going to get started on building out the project. So here we go. So I'm going to start prompting Claude, and you can listen along while I do it. But hi, Claude. I'm currently looking to create a local studio MCP server, and I wanted to have a list of my upcoming events for my community called Makers Lounge, and just add 5 or 10 events in 2026 and add it to that MCP. And then what I want to do is I want to create a Claude agent and then allow that agent to use the SDK to reference it. And we're going to create a little simple front-end UI so that we can interact with the agent from that UI.
That sounds like a really clear and exciting project. So, if I understand correctly, you're planning to build a STIO MCP server that will hold a list of Makers Lounge events. Then you'll have a Claude agent use the SDK to access those events through your MCP server, all wrapped up with a simple user interface. That's a perfect real-world application for an MCP server. I can definitely help guide you through setting up that STDIO server and how the agent will interact with it. What's the first step you'd like to tackle for the MCP server itself?
So I think what Claude Code is doing right now is it's reading the MCP and the SDK documentation. It's reading the custom tools documentation and it's going to get started building. But I think the next thing for us is once it is able to do this and it can fetch our events from that MCP server that's hosted locally, I want to create an HTTP MCP server. So let's brainstorm some ideas. It could be like holiday event calendars. It could be local weather. What do you have any ideas?
That's a fantastic next step. While Claude Code is busy setting up your STTDIO server, let's definitely brainstorm some ideas for an HTTP MCP server. This type is great for connecting to external web services. Building on your idea of event calendars or local weather, here are a few thoughts. One idea could be a public holiday API server. This MCP server could connect to a public API that provides a list of holidays for a specific country or region. Claude could then use this to check if an event falls on a holiday or to plan around them. Another option could be a local business directory server. This MCP could query an API like Yelp or Google Places to find nearby restaurants, cafes, or venues that might be suitable for Makers Lounge events or just for general information. Or we could go with a currency exchange rate server. If Makers Lounge ever considers international events or needs to deal with different currencies, Claude could use this MCP to get real-time exchange rates. Do any of those spark your interest, or do you have a different kind of external service in mind?
No, I think all three of those are really good ideas. Do you have any suggestions on specific ones we should go for? Probably one that's going to be the least prohibitive in terms of access and the most accessible one.
That's a great point about accessibility. Considering ease of access and minimal setup, I'd lean towards the Public Holiday API. Many public holiday APIs are quite straightforward to use, often requiring no API key for basic queries or offering very generous free tiers. This means you can usually get started quickly without worrying about complex authentication or rate limits right away. It also ties in nicely with your event planning theme for the STTDIO server. How does a public holiday API sound for our HTTP MCP server example?
Yeah, I think the public holiday API is a good one to go with.
Excellent. The public holiday API it is. To set up an HTTP MCP server, you'll again use your mcp.json file. This time, instead of specifying a command to run a local program, you'll tell it the type base is HTTP or SSE and provide a URL. Here's what a basic configuration for an HTTP server might look like in your pod.mcp.json. JSON the MCP servers. Holiday API type HTTP URL HTTPS API example.com holidays MCP headers XAPI key holiday API key. In this example, holiday API is the name. The types is set to HTTP, and the URL would be the endpoint where your actual holiday API server is running. Notice the headers section where you can include an API key, which is a common requirement for external APIs. You can pull this from an environment variable, just like with the STTDIO server. Does this configuration for an HTTP server make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Sorry, I'm just running npm install and npm start for the agent that we built. And then once it is ready and it's started, then I'm going to go to the local host and we're actually going to see this agent running in action. And then I'm going to ask npm run agent what hackathons are coming up. I'm also going to actually look at our events and see the Makers Lounge events coming on. So we have AI Agents Workshop on February 15th. We have monthly Makers Meetup on March 8th. We have Spring Hackathon on April 19th. So if we do ask, I think we just got one error starting. I think I need to just run npm install and npm start, but let me double check that here. So I'm just going to open up a new terminal. And I'm going to go npm install. Show last conversation. I think our agent did maximum call duration. We got to navigate to source. So I'll go ahead and start. Claude Agents SDK. Let's see. Go here and I'll add a new terminal and I will go Claude. And then I'm just going to ask it, hi Claude, can you please start our app in our project? It's currently in the source folder. So I think that Claude is going to actually go ahead and start this app for us. But in the meantime, we can look at some of the things that it built out for us. So it built the agent. So this is actually the agent that is going to run for us. I'm just gonna make this a bit larger. And so you can see Makers Lounge event agent. This agent can answer questions about Makers Lounge community events using the custom MCP server tool. Oh, so I can just run start. Create async generator for streaming inputs required for the MCP. Run the agent with our custom MCP server. So you have allowed tools. These are the tools that are available to us. So list events, get event details, search events by category, check availability, and gets events in range. You are a helpful assistant for the Makers Lounge community. Oh, the Anthropic package doesn't exist on NPM. Let's check with the source and figure out how to proceed. The app has a dependency issue. The package Anthropic AI Claude Agent SDK reference and source doesn't exist on NPM. This appears to be a placeholder or internal package name. A few options to proceed. If you have the SDK locally, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag in the quick start and be like, can you just reference this quick start information and try again? Sometimes it will just print the wrong package, but let's continue in our system prompt. Vibrant tech community that hosts workshops, hackathons, networking events, and social gatherings. When the user asks about events, use the available tools to fetch accurate information, be friendly, and be encouraging about community participation. Highlight spots available and encourage registration for popular events. If an event is sold out, suggest similar alternatives. Always be enthusiastic about the community and helping and guiding members going to events that match their interests. So this is that's the prompt. And this is actually what it runs directly. And let's take a look at our actual app that it built for us. So I think this is the server, middleware, health check. So the Anthropic package isn't published on NPM yet. It appears the quick start documentation is for an upcoming release. The available package is Anthropic SDK, the standard Anthropic client. Would you like me to adapt the code? That's strange. I'm going to go back to the Claude Agents SDK tool here, and we're going to go to Quick Start, and I'm going to see how to install it and actually give it that exact code. Let's try this. Try using this command. This is right from the Claude website. Yeah, so it's really important that you download the Anthropic AI Claude Agent SDK, or else none of this will work. Oh, I think we already downloaded it. Okay, it looks like the app is ready to start now. So we will start the app. Okay, perfect. So it looks like the app has started up. And we have Makers Lounge Event Assistant. Hey there, I'm your event assistant. I can help you discover upcoming workshop, hackathon, networks. What do you like to do? So I'll just say what events are coming up. And the agent will actually go ahead and search the docs for us. I'm just gonna make this a bit smaller so I can type here. And we can actually inspect this as well to see what's happening. So it looks like this might have given us oh, it's actually working. So I'm just gonna widen this, make it full screen, make this, let's make it a Surface Pro. So it actually says, great news, the Makers Lounge has an amazing lineups of events coming through the year. Here's what our calendar shows. And so you can see here, this is actually, it did go ahead and do that search for us. So now I want to take it to the next level, and I want to ask it, amazing. Now, can you please add a version of an HTTP MCP that's able to check for holiday calendar via API, and then make suggestions around holiday events that are around some of our Makers Lounge events. I'm also gonna just come in here. I'm going to refresh the page just so it looks a little bit nicer. So if I just go hackathons, it will search through. Another thing that I would probably want to show is like for it to showcase what tools are coming up during the loading. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm just going to make this bigger while it loads. I'm going to add a new conversation, drag it in here, and just say Claude. And then I'm going to say, hi, Claude. Claude, can you please adjust our conversational agent so that it's showing what tool calls it makes and MCP calls before it actually finds the things, because I think that's really important just for user understanding. I'm just going to paste the screenshot into there. So just kind of reading into this events server, you can see Makers Lounge events, and then you see the MCP server. This is the holiday API based on the NAGER date, free public holiday API. And you can see the database. And we're building out this MCP server now too. And so what the agent will be able to do is search through our Makers Lounge events and also search through the holiday events, and then give us suggestions around the holiday events that it found from the web and also the Makers Lounge that it found via our internal system. And so just to give you a high level view of what our agents, what our MCPs in the SDK, they're extensions or packages to the agent's knowledge or context that it can draw from at any time. It also allows it to run code and do tools. And actually the last type of MCP that we're going to show and we're going to use is we are going to do what we call, where is it? Here. SDK MCP servers. So these are in-process servers running within your applications. And then I'm just going to copy this, and then it says for more information go to the custom tool guide. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say, okay, that's amazing. The next thing I want to do is I want to do an in-process MCP server that can do some sort of simple in-process calculation for us. And I'm also going to copy and paste the custom tools, because this is the documentation for how you build custom tools. And I'm going to say here, okay, amazing. So lastly, what I want to do is I want to create some sort of in-process in SDK MCP that will also make this whole process easier for us. Okay, so I'm just going to let this load. And this is going to go ahead and load, and I'm just scrolling down to the bottom of this. And we can also make these edits while we scroll down here. So I also pasted this. So it says done. So the server is now running with the new holidays. So get holidays fetches public holidays, get holiday suggestions, finds Makers Lounge events near holidays, and suggests themes activities. The agent can now look up Canadian public holidays, identify which Makers Lounge events are near holidays, and suggest holiday themed activities for events, and warns about potential scheduling conflicts with holidays. So I'm going to come in here now, and I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm going to say, oh, actually, does it check out, are there any events around Thanksgiving? Let's try that. So I'm going to paste it. And so ideally, it's going to use two different tools. It's first going to use the MCP tool to find our events, and then it's going to use the MCP tool to find when Thanksgiving is, and then figure out maybe some mitigation plans for around that. While that's loading, I'm just going to come back here and just allow these edits to happen. I'm just going to escape out of this. Okay, looking at the Makers Lounge events calendar, here's what's happening around those times. So October 12th, we have a fall hackathon, AI for Good. This would be a perfect Thanksgiving event. A full day hackathon would be focused on building solutions around US Thanksgiving. You have November 26th. Did you use the MCP that connects to the holiday calendar as well as the MCP that connects to the Makers Lounge events? So just loading there. And we'll just wait for this to end. Yes, I have access to both MCPs. Let me show you what the tools are available. So the Makers Lounge Events MCP has list events, get event details, search events by category, check availability. And then you have the holiday, get holidays, get holiday events feedbacks, combine features. So you can get holiday events feedbacks and check holiday conflicts. Actually bridges both MCPs. So that's really cool. So I hope this gave you a good high-level understanding of what MCPs are in the agent SDK. They're basically like extensions of information that the agent can use to complete tasks. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you at the next one.